Hey there, welcome to SI Now. It is Friday, October 28th, and I'm Maggie Gray. Cubs fans have waited 71 years for this day. A World Series game will be played at Wrigley Field. To get an insider's view on the Cubs, I'm pleased to be joined by a man who won the NL MVP as a Cub and played for the team for 6 of his 21 seasons in the majors. Hall of Famer Andre Dawson, good enough to join us, now a special assistant to the Miami Marlins. But Andre, you were a member of the 1989 Cubs team that made it to the NLCS. Can you describe what the playoff atmosphere is like at Wrigley Field?
Well, right now it's probably out of the roof. These fans, as you mentioned, have waited so long for this period in time, and I was there just a couple of weeks ago, and just the electricity itself going through the fans, through the stands, and the fans just having as good a time as you can imagine, and to be out in the middle of that, I'll tell you, it's the crowd noise, the energy that's going through the stands. It's amazing.
I'm sure. These current Cubs players, they seem to just be ignoring the curse. They just refuse to buy into it. What was your approach when you played for the Cubs?
Well, first of all, I don't believe in such things. I believe in breaks, a little luck here and there, and then, just flat out going out, doing what you need to do to win a ball game, taking care of your responsibility and getting the job done as a ball club. So much was made of that over the years, and I think the fans kind of bought into it a little bit more than the players actually did. But this collective group is a little bit special. They managed to piece together a core group that consists of young ball players, and then you fill in the voids with seasoned veterans, star quality veterans, to make the right blend to get you in the postseason. They're a hungry group this year, and they believe in themselves, and they know they have a good team, and that's why they are where they are today.
Absolutely. And it's not an elimination game tonight, but considering the Cubs' history, you mentioned those breaks that have normally not gone the Cubs' way, staring at Corey Kluber starting pitching in Game 4, how important is it for both the Cubs and maybe even for the fans a little bit to win Game 3 tonight, Andre?
Well, they definitely want to make a good showing at home. I felt that they would probably split the series in Cleveland and go home and win 2 out of 3 games, and probably have to put the pressure back on Cleveland the last 2 games of the season, barring they don't clinch it at home. I do feel that they're going to win at least 2 out of 3 of these games. It's good to be amongst your own fans. And, as you mentioned, it's going to be electric out there. They have the home field advantage. At no point this year, I think that they lose 3 or 4 games in a row. They lost a game, and then they won a game, and then they will go home and they reel off a winning streak, be it 3, 4 games, sometimes 7 and 8. So this team looks forward to playing in the Wrigley Field. They have Kyle Hendricks on the mound tonight, and how dominating he is at Wrigley Field. So it's important that he continue to give them the good performance he has in the past to go up 2-1, I think.
Hendricks, an improbable story, turned himself into a Cy Young candidate. Andre, there are crucial questions affecting both teams when it comes to the outfield, which is an area you patrolled so well. You're in the Hall of Fame. Let's talk about the Cubs side. Kyle Schwarber has not been medically cleared to play in the outfield, and the Cubs say they're not going to take a chance that he could re-injure his knee. Now, you dealt with knee problems as a result of playing on that brutal AstroTurf early in your career in Montreal. Describe why playing in the outfield is more risky than running and potentially sliding into a base.
Well, for the simple reason, he hasn't fielded ground balls. He hasn't been tested laterally, coming in, stopping. He hasn't fielded as a ground balls. He hasn't caught fly balls in the outfield. So it's a different kind of angle and approach you got to take being out in the field as opposed to maybe running the bases and then having a short angle that you have to cut. I'm marveled at the fact that, you know, he's been able to pull off what he has by just DHing alone, because, you know, it takes a lot of confidence in being on the base paths out there. But I think, you know, the kid in him doesn't pose any type of fear or threat. If he was cleared, he would want to be out there right away. But it is a different type of approach that you have to have. You have to get some work in defensively before you can just go out there and play the outfield.
Andre, can't let you go without getting a prediction. Now, you said you believe that the Cubs could take 2 of 3 at Wrigley, but you believe they're going to win this thing, right?
Oh, most definite. They're going to take 2 out of 3, I think, if they don't sweep at home. But this, you know, there's no denying this group. I think time has come, and we're finally going to see the Cubs win another World Series.
Andre Dawson, the Hall of Famer and former Cub, now a special assistant with the Miami Marlins. Andre, thanks so much for your perspective and time, and have fun in Chicago. Know you'll be there for games 4 and 5. Enjoy that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, it's a packed weekend for sports fans. Here's a look at what's going down all across the country. This is SI Now's Weekend Drive presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Our first stop is Wrigley Field in Chicago, where the Cubs will host a World Series game for the first time since 1945. Their 71-year championship series drought is the longest of any sports team in the 4 major North American sports. Cubs manager Joe Maddon is ready to make history.
You beat 2 really good teams to get to this juncture. I mean, the Giants, especially this time of the year, and the Dodgers really built for this time of the year. To be able to get through them, to get to this moment, and then have your fans and now have the opportunity to witness a World Series game here. Yeah, not lost on me whatsoever. It's going to be an absolute blast. Beanie's coming in, my kids are coming, everybody's coming in. It's going to be great. So I know the people that have been waiting for this for a long time are going to savor it. And it's hopefully on our part we could do something to really make it even better.
Game 3 hasn't been kind to the Cubs in this postseason. They've yet to win one so far in 2016. Next up, college football. We head south to Tallahassee, where 2 ACC powerhouses will clash when Clemson takes on rival Florida State. Clemson is searching for their 2nd win at Doak Campbell Stadium since the Seminoles joined the ACC in 1992. Florida State head coach Jimbo Fisher will have his hands full with Clemson's stout defense.
Extremely multiple in what they do lots of things, lots of coverages, lots of different, the multiplicity of things in which they do. And like I say, sometimes it will get them in trouble, but most of the time they execute the heck out of it. They do a great job, and they got good front people, and they blitz you and give you different looks.
Since defensive coordinator Brett Venables joined the Tigers in 2012, Clemson ranks #1 nationally with 530 tackles for a loss. Lastly, we head to the Lone Star State for the beginning of a young quarterback rivalry between the Cowboys' Dak Prescott and the Eagles' Carson Wentz. No adjustment for these 2 signal callers is needed. This is the first time 2 rookie QBs have squared off, sporting a combined .750 winning percentage. Wentz is already aware of how important this NFC East rivalry is to the city of Philadelphia.
And I know how much this means to the city, how much it means to these fans. There's a lot of excitement going on just with Eagles football, but definitely this week, you know, I recognize that. But at the same time, I don't let that kind of bother me or distract me from the main goal, and that's just preparing every day. Because I know if I get sidetracked by any of those things, it's going to mess up the preparation and it'll affect the game on Sunday.
The Birds have made themselves right at home in Jerry World, boasting a 5-2 record at AT&T Stadium since they opened their doors in 2009. And that's what's in store for this weekend. For more on that NFC East matchup and much more from the gridiron, here's our own Ryan Aselta with Super Bowl champion Chris Canty. Hey, Ryan.
All right, Maggie, we're getting ready for Week 8 in the NFL. I'm here in our timing studios while our man Chris Canty is coming to us over the phone this Friday. And Chris, we begin on first down, and let's start with the fallout from last night's Thursday night football game. The Titans beat the Jaguars 36-22, though the score really didn't paint the picture in this one. Tennessee led this game 27-0 at the half in what was an abysmal performance by the Jags. Now, Chris, Coach Gus Bradley was already on the hot seat before this game. How big a trouble is Bradley in Jacksonville after this loss?
Well, I think he's in trouble. You know, right now, his football team is not responding to his words. Sean Kahn met with the coaching staff as well as the players in the team meeting earlier in the week, and certainly, the atmosphere was, how can we help? How can we get better? What could he do to help the team win? And so when you have an owner in a position where he just wants to win, he's going to trust the process. Dave Caldwell, general manager down there, they're trying to give Gus Bradley time to build a culture that's successful, that breeds winning. But unfortunately, it hasn't worked out through this point. 14-41 over his 3.5 years in Jacksonville. That's just not going to get it done in the National Football League. So I don't see this team making a coaching change mid-season, but certainly at the end of the season, I think something could happen unless they get this thing turned around.
All right, Chris, second down, the Titans featured a power run game last night, but QB Marcus Mariota was solid. 18 of 22 passing, 2 touchdowns. Now, Mariota, along with Jameis Winston, were, of course, the top 2 picks in the 2015 NFL Draft, and Winston has been also playing a bit better of late. When you look at the progress of these 2 quarterbacks, which one has settled into their role as a better NFL QB?
Well, I would probably give the edge to Jameis Winston just because his team is asking him to do more. If you look at them offensively last year, they finished as a top 5 offense, although the win total didn't reflect that, only 6-10. They were largely one-dimensional. You had to throw. They had to lean on the throwing game earlier in this season. I think now they're starting to find a little more balance. But still, they're throwing the football a lot. There's a lot on Jameis Winston, a lot of responsibility. But both quarterbacks are doing a great job. You look at where they have their teams now. They were at the bottom of the divisions last year, respectively. Now both of them are in second place in their divisions. You see the quality of football that they're playing now. It looks like they're settling in. Mariota just a little bit better than Winston in the red zone. That's important when you start talking about a young quarterback being able to capitalize in the scoring area. But they both bring different dimensions to their team. I think the Tennessee Titans have a little bit better of a supporting cast in terms of being able to play complementary football, offense, defense, special teams, have a running game for Mariota to lean on. Again, Jameis Winston has been without Doug Martin for some time. They're asking him to do a whole lot. But both of the quarterbacks are progressing, but I would probably give the edge to Jameis Winston right now.
All right, third down, marquee game of the week is in the NFC East. Sunday night, the Eagles take on the Cowboys. Chris, looking at this team, they don't like each other very much, these 2 teams. Who has the edge in this ballgame?
I'm going to give the edge to the Dallas Cowboys, and that's because I love the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. I trust those guys. They facilitate the offense, whether it be handing off the ball to Ezekiel Elliott, which is what the Cowboys want to do first and foremost. But then you also have the element of having Dak Prescott. And while they don't drop back and throw it a ton in terms of attempts, they're third in average per pass play. So they're getting chunk plays in the passing game when they do drop back to throw the ball.
So your prediction is what? Cowboys win this ball game?
I'm going to say the Cowboys win this ball game in a bit of a grinder. I'm going to go 24-20.
24-20, all right. Philadelphia has actually won the last 3 meetings in Dallas, so clearly the Eagles are comfortable going to a Jerry's World down there in Dallas. All right, we finish up on fourth down in the AFC East, where the Patriots travel to Buffalo to take on a Bills team that they lost to just a month ago in Foxborough. Now, the Bills had run off 4 straight wins before losing to Miami last week. Chris, does Bill Belichick get his revenge against his old buddy Rex Ryan this week in Orchard Park?
I'll tell you what, he's going to be really fired up. I know his expression won't show it, but if you look at the handshake, the coach's handshake after the first matchup this year, it was about as quick as I've ever seen it. There's an icy relationship there, and certainly this is one that Bill Belichick is going to be ready for. He's going to be prepared for. I look for a heavy dose of LeGarrette Blount, and of course Tom Brady's going to mix in opportunities to take shots at this team with his 2 tight end passing attacks. It's just going to be rough. I think it's too much New England Patriots, too many explosive weapons on the offensive side of the ball for the Buffalo Bills to handle, and they're just not built to play catch-up.
Yeah, the Patriots have won their last 4 meetings in Buffalo by more than 12 points per game, so the Pats clearly with revenge on their mind. Chris Canty, thanks, man. We'll see you back in studio on Monday. And that's a look at some of the big storylines in the NFL for Week 8. But how about fantasy football? We've got the injury to C.J. Anderson, the return of Des Bryant. What should you do with your lineup? Here's SI fantasy expert Michael Beller with this week's Start 'em and Sit 'em.
The first week of the 2016 Bye-Pocalypse is upon us, with 6 teams going on bye in Week 8. 6 more teams will take a rest next week, so get ready to have your depth tested. will help you make all the tough start-sit calls with 6 teams removed from the Rolodex. Jameis Winston is an easy play for his owners this week. Winston is 9th among quarterbacks in points per game this season. Only Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers have scored more points than Winston among quarterbacks who have already had their byes. His 3 best games have also been his 3 most efficient, and he gets a defense this week that brings out the best in the QB's efficiency. The Raiders rank 30th in the league in YPA allowed and 20th in QB completion percentage. Add to the mix an over-under of 49, and it adds up to a huge day for Jameis Winston. Phillip Rivers and the Chargers beat the Broncos 21-13 in San Diego 2 weeks ago. While Rivers did just what the Chargers needed to get a win, he produced just 11.12 points for his fantasy owners. Now the Chargers go to Denver, and Rivers could be without rookie tight end Hunter Henry, who has turned into one of his favorite weapons. Stay away from Rivers this week. Devontae Booker was going to be a start no matter what this week, but he turned into a top 10 running back when C.J. Anderson hit the shelf. With the starter out because of a knee injury, there won't be anything keeping Booker from 20-plus touches. The rookie out of Utah had the best game of his young career last week, running for 83 yards and a touchdown on 17 carries. The Chargers have allowed 23.3 points per game to running backs this year, 6th most in the league. With Anderson out of the way, all of those points could be Booker's. Jerick McKinnon has been outplayed by Matt Asiata the last 2 weeks and belongs on your fantasy bench. The most troubling development for McKinnon backers is that Asiata has been the better receiver, an area where McKinnon was supposed to dominate. Without a large share of the passing game or goal line carries, it will be hard for McKinnon to post RB2 numbers. He doesn't have either of those for the time being. McKinnon's teammate, Stephon Diggs, should be back in your lineup this week. He has been limited by groin and hamstring injuries after a hot start to the year, but has put those problems in the rearview mirror. Diggs is easily the most dangerous receiver in Minnesota, making him Sam Bradford's top target whenever he's healthy. The Bears' pass defense has taken a turn for the worse over the last few weeks, allowing at least 17.6 standard league points to T.Y. Hilton, Devontae Adams, and Randall Cobb. Willie Snead is running 3rd at best in New Orleans and is dealing with the Seattle secondary this week. There's reason to believe in Michael Thomas and Brandon Cooks, but not quite in Snead. The one positive for Snead is that he does his damage on the inside of the field, and the Seahawks are one of the toughest teams on the perimeter. Still, Thomas is a red zone beast, while Cooks is a true deep threat. There's too much working against Snead this week. Over the last 4 weeks, C.J. Fedorowicz has turned into a regular presence in the Houston offense. He has 19 catches for 229 yards and 2 touchdowns in that span, which translates to 8.73 points per game. The tight end pool is shallow enough when all 32 teams are in action, let alone when 6 teams are on bye. The Lions, meanwhile, have allowed the 3rd most points per game to tight ends. Fedorowicz is a top 10 tight end this week. Kobe Fleener has just 2 games this season with more than 5 points in standard scoring leagues. Last week, he split snaps at almost an exact 50-50 share with Josh Hill. Fleener and the Saints welcome the Seahawks defense to New Orleans on Sunday. How many red flags do you need? Fleener is not worth a start in most fantasy formats this week. Finally, defense streamers should take a spin down to Dallas, where the Cowboys host the Eagles. Dallas doesn't have a great pass rush, but they have forced 9 turnovers and held teams to 17.8 points per game. When in doubt, back a defense that is playing for a team at home and favored as the Cowboys are. That'll do it for the Week 8 edition of Stardom or Sit-'em. I'll see you all next week for waiver wire advice. Until then, this is Michael Beller wishing you good luck this weekend.
Houston plays host to Detroit on Sunday. Recently, I spoke with Texans wide receiver Jalen Strong about his college connection to quarterback Brock Osweiler and managing the highs and lows of the Texan season. Jalen, the Texans started the year 2-0, and since then have alternated wins and losses for the last 5 weeks, with each of the losses coming by double figures. What's it been like to go through those ups and downs and swings week to week?
When adversity hits, we just got to learn how to stick together and rally together within our organization and do whatever we can, to focus on the next week and do our best to go out there and make plays and walk away with a win.
As we look ahead now, you guys are facing the Detroit Lions. Not a usual opponent for you guys. So what do you make of this matchup?
Just a win. We got to go out there and win. And, got to go out there and just get something started, with our team, get back on track, and do all the things we know we could do. And I think it'll be a good one.
You and your quarterback, Brock Osweiler, just missed each other at Arizona State, but I know you guys are both proud Sun Devils. Brock doesn't really show us too much of his personality, and by us, I mean the media. Doesn't seem to be a flashy guy. Tell us what you know about him from the Arizona State days.
I know Brock was the guy. I actually was on an official visit there. When Brock was the quarterback there, he won a big game against Missouri. It was the first blackout at Sun Devil Stadium. And, everybody loved Brock's personality. He's funny. Down to earth, real down to earth. He's young, so, he hip to a lot of things that, everybody's hip to, all the younger guys. Our offense is very young, so, we all get along great. And I feel like, Brock's a great person to hang around and learn from.
You are from Philadelphia. You're a big basketball fan. You were recently interviewed by a kid reporter from the Texans, and he asked you who your favorite athlete of all time was, and we're going to play your reaction. Listen to this.
Who was your favorite sports player when you were a kid?
Allen Iverson. You know who Allen Iverson is?
No, not really.
Not really. You know what sport he played?
No.
What are we doing here? He doesn't know Allen Iverson. We got to get you to figure out who Allen Iverson is, man.
You were genuinely disappointed that kid had no clue who Allen Iverson was. How influential was Iverson on you growing up?
Real influential, about being different and just, just having integrity, just hold your own, and nobody believes in you. You might not be the biggest, fastest, strongest out there, but, you're going to have that biggest heart, and that's all that matters. And, growing up in Philly, a place where not a lot is promised, not a lot is given to you. You got to take everything and earn everything, and just having Allen Iverson to watch, almost every other night on TV was just motivation to kids and all over. And I think he started a lot, that's happening in the NBA right now with, the cornrows and the headbands, tattoos and the sleeves, and, everybody wanted to be like AI, so, he's a big influence on me.
Your father was also a standout basketball player in Philadelphia, not just on the high school level, but at Drexel University as well. He passed away from cancer when you were just 9, and to this day, you wear cleats that say, "Love you, Dad." Why is it important to you to honor his memory when you take the field?
Just know that, I'm not in it alone, never in it alone. And, even though he's not here physically, he's with me at all times spiritually. And, I do talk to him, when I get down, I do talk to him when I need his help. And, I do get signs of him, answering my questions for me. So, he's still with me. And I just try to go out there and honor him, because that's what he did. He fought a tough fight of cancer, and unfortunately he didn't win. But, I just try to go out there and fight every play, just like he fought cancer.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Jalen Strong. Jalen, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Good luck against Detroit.
All right, thank you.
Really appreciate Jalen Strong joining us, and that's going to do it for this Friday edition of SI Now. We'll be back on Monday with 3-time NBA champion and Basketball Hall of Famer Kevin McHale will be my guest. That's 1 p.m. Eastern on Monday. But until then, you can keep up with all the latest sports news on SI.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SI Now Live. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you right back here on Monday.